Okay, well, we're going to start with scams, hacks, breaches, news. And this is a bad week for Android users, but massive SMS stealer campaign infects Android devices in 113 countries. A malicious campaign targeting Android devices worldwide utilizes thousands of Telegram bots to infect devices with SMS stealing malware and stealing one-time 2FA passwords for over 600 services. Researchers discovered the operation and have been tracking it since February 2022 for quite a while now. They have report finding at least 107,000 distinct malware samples associated with the campaign. That's a lot. On Telegram, the bots promise to give the user pirated applications for Android platforms, asking for their phone number before they share their APK file. So if you think you're getting a pirated piece of software, you're probably getting malware, and there's no reason to get a pirated piece of software because, well, you're really kind of taking away from someone else. So, oh, that one just closed. I hit the X, and it was also about an Android discovery. And you know what? I'm going to have to just bring that up later. But beware of fake conferencing software targeting crypto assets, warns Slow Mist founder. Now, I covered this last week, but the reason why I'm bringing it up this week is because not someone in this group, but someone in this group, their friend, uh, fell victim to this, and they were hoping to get a job, and that's how it all started. So an ex user calling itself Maxlin ETH encouraged a job hunting scam where the attacker jumped into a Zoom call and tricked a potential victim into downloading a malicious app. A fake video conferencing software is reportedly being used to perform address poisoning attacks to steal crypto assets from community members. So this person went in and said, "Hey, I'm going to be, I'm looking for someone to hire." They went in, they, supposedly got on a Zoom call, and they were hacked into. So be careful. If it doesn't say, Zoom.com, if it's not a real domain that you know of, just stop, think about it, and say, well, this looks potentially like an issue that could cause me some harm. So let's do it with the real software. And if they fight you on it, well, then you know that it's a scam, and just pass it on by. Crypto exchange Gemini discloses third-party data breach. Yes, third-party data breach once again. Cryptocurrency exchange Gemini is warning it suffered a data breach incident caused by a cyber attack at its automated clearinghouse, ACH, service provider whose name has not been disclosed. ACH is how you transfer money from your checking account to somewhere else. So the American Crypto Exchange has begun sending notices to impacted individuals a month ago on June 26, 2024, but submitted a sample of the letter yesterday to the Attorney General's office in California. According to the notifications, Gemini suffered a third-party data breach when it unauthorized actor breached its vendor's system between June 3rd and June 7th. The incident affected some of Gemini's customer banking information, including their full name, bank account number, and routing number, which Gemini uses for ACH transfers. And like I've said before, a majority of times it's not the big company that gets hacked into, because they may be as beefy as possible and they have a great security team, but it's the third-party vendors that don't have an endless supply of money. They don't have a beefy security team that seems to cause, issues like this. So be careful what information you're giving out. Hopefully you are not a part of this Gemini breach, but if you get a notification from Gemini, it's probably real. Just make sure you check the email address that it came from. So we're going to go right into crypto news. Ledger was, during the Bitcoin conference last weekend, they announced Ledger Flex, and Ledger Flex is kind of a little brother to the Ledger Stacks, and it has the same great screen, but a significantly discounted rate as compared to the Ledger Stacks. In fact, Jay and I were talking this morning, and we're still waiting for our ledger stacks. But we only paid $279 for the ledger stacks, what, like 20 years ago? Now they're up to $400. But the Ledger Flex, it could be a great alternative if you're looking for a Ledger device. And of course, we have, the regular Ledger Nano X, the S Plus, and these down here, I don't know what, some of these are, but this seems really crazy to spend, $230 on a X Chalk Blade edition. Don't know what that means, but hopefully someone else does. So California DMV puts 42 million car titles on the Avalanche network in a digitation push. California's DMV digitized 42 million car titles on the Avalanche network as part of a development to modernize the state's title transfer process. The users will soon, the users will soon be able to claim their digital titles via the DMV's application, track and manage them without going into the office, according to the Avalanche blog. The time to transfer vehicle titles drops to just a few minutes, and you don't have to wait your entire day at the DMV in California. Trust me, I've done that before. A few minutes using the blockchain rails in the back end from 2 weeks or so in the traditional method. So, I was talking to my husband about this. He's like, okay, so what's so great about, putting on the blockchain? And that is, one of the things that hopefully I'm going to bring a couple articles about this, because, we know about crypto, we know about blockchains, but it's kind of a buzzword. And now, what can we do with these rails? Well, it's going to be just minutes to transfer a title in California and hopefully in a state near you, instead of having to wait 2 weeks on the regular process. Now, I'm sure that they're going to charge you the same fees, but most of the time, and you'll see a couple articles, where the fees drop significantly because it's gone onto the blockchain. So Dakota emerges from stealth to provide bank-like services to crypto depositors. And I thought this is, one way that you can see what's happening in the crypto space. But Dakota, which describes itself as a crypto bank that is attempting to right the wrong of central lenders such as Celsius, which went bankrupt, BlockFi, which went bankrupt, emerged from stealth on Wednesday. The company, which was founded by a former group of Airbnb and Coinbase custody executives, offer treasury management, lending, and payment services to businesses that pay a small monthly fee to gain access to the platform that allows them to lend out their deposited crypto across a selection of DeFi protocols. At Dakota, the clients make the lending decision and choose which DeFi protocol they wish to use. The monthly fee ranges $150 to $1,500, and the clients who choose to lend their deposits can earn a return up to 9%. Stablecoin holders will receive a yield based on U.S. Treasuries. So, we're seeing that there's real world applications for blockchain technologies. And here's another. AgriDex settles first agricultural trade on the Solana blockchain. The AgriDex, a Solana-based marketplace aiming to bring the global agricultural market on-chain by tokenizing various crops, has settled its first agricultural trade on the Solana blockchain, it told Coinbase on Wednesday. The settlement, which involves the shipment of over 200 bottles of extra virgin olive oil and multiple cases of wine from a farm and vineyards in South Africa to London, will be fully completed when the wine arrives on July 29th, which was, a couple days ago, and the olive oil arrives a few days later. Basically, the fees for this were 0.15%, whereas before it was several percentage points for that particular. So it's bringing the price down, it's putting it online, and it's bringing real world application. And here we go. Michigan Pension Fund discloses 6.6 million investment in Bitcoin ETFs. And the reason why I bring this is because we remember back, I think it was earlier this year, Wisconsin put 160 million to Bitcoin ETF, and Michigan is coming in second. So as my friends in California thought, well, and what has been stated before, well, that's the flyover states. Well, the flyover states seem to be doing a really good job for their pension plans by introducing Bitcoin into the mix. So, California, the different east and west side, they might take something to learn from the flyover states. Over 41.5% of Mt. Gox Bitcoin distributed as creditors continue to hodl. Nearly half of the Bitcoin owned by Mt. Gox creditors has been distributed, but despite a decade of waiting, many creditors are still holding their coins. So just kind of an update, and it's great to see that people still believe that long not having the Bitcoin, that they're just holding it and they're not immediately selling it.
Hey, George.
Yep.
I saw last night in a report that was shared with me that they're down to from 9 billion Bitcoin distributed there, or $9 billion worth of Bitcoin. They're down to 2.5 billion as of
Wow.
yesterday. And in this report, it said less than 3% of the people are selling their Bitcoin.
Wow.
Like they're
That's
moving it right to their wallet. Some of them move it into cold storage, whatever, but only 3% of it has actually gone to an exchange.
I, you know,
But kind of going back to the conversation we had that day on the live stream when I said, George, you were involved in this. Would you sell yours? And I think a lot of people are having a lot of common sense about this.
I agree because they're the early adopters and they probably still stayed in it. I mean, I certainly did, and it was a wild ride, but I didn't really lose anything in Mt. Gox. But we've seen where it's coming. If they look at what their purchase price was back in that day, that could have been $5 or it could have been $200. A huge appreciation, and they just know what the history has been. So they're staying well informed.
Well, and I think that what's cool about this is you have Mount Gox, which was looming for years now. They've threatened, Mount Gox this, Mount Gox that. Now
Yeah.
you've got more than three-fourths of it out, and Bitcoin's price is stable. You've got Germany's done selling, and then you have President Trump and potentially President Kennedy both saying that if they were elected to presidency, they would set it up to where the Bitcoin being held by the U.S. government is a bit more of a treasury as opposed to, hey, we're going to dump it on your heads at some point. So a lot of looming events for Bitcoin over the years have just disappeared.
Yeah, well, and one thing I was talking to someone this week, and we were talking about Germany dumping their Bitcoin because it was confiscated Bitcoin, and he told me, he said, they have to sell it. They have to sell it. They couldn't take it into their treasury by law, by German law. And he said it's interesting to think, and didn't say for sure, but he had some assumptions that they were selling that and then also buying it back because by law they couldn't keep it. So it's interesting how, I don't know if that's true on the United States. I know I had heard or saw an article that some Bitcoin was coming out of the Silk Road side of things and was going to be sold from the US. And I don't know if by law we have to get rid of that, and if they wanted to keep it, are things changed that way. So it'll be interesting to see if that information comes out. But this one I just had to bring because I shake my head. The rise and fall of celeb tokens, over 99% of value wiped out. Well, duh, it's a celeb token. The recent launch of celebrity tokens on the Solana blockchain has shocked newcomer investors, as most tokens value have fallen by over 99%. Yeah, well, what do people expect? I mean, these are seem to be super newbies. What's the value of a celebrity token besides a celebrity getting up and saying, "Hey, buy my token"? I mean, really, what's the thinking on that? But exactly half are down over 99%, with seven others being down more than 90%. Let me remind you that this is only about a month into their lifespan. So a month in, and everything's kind of wiped out. So be careful, the meme coins, and for certainly, the celebrity coins. Why you would buy one, I don't know, but that's not me. So Jay was talking about this earlier, the 2024 speech of JFK, RFK, and others. But one thing that, every time someone, well, a politician opens up their mouth, this is really what I see. Because for me, there are speeches and I did not listen to either one of them. I've read a little bit, but it seems like until someone's in office and they actually do it, it's just blah, 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 because I've been around so long where I've heard politicians say, this I will do when I get in office, and it never happens, either because they don't want it to happen and they just wanted my vote, or the rest of the administration wasn't going to allow it. So this is why this is my favorite quote of this week. Cast a vote, but don't join a cult. Edward Snowden at Bitcoin 2024. Edward Snowden, the former National Security Agency contractor who has been in exile in Russia since 2013, warned attendees at the Bitcoin 2024 conference about a politician trying to woo them over crypto. In July 26th speech held virtually at the crypto conference, Snowden said many lawmakers are trying to earn their love of Bitcoiners, hinting at those attending the Nashville event. Cast a vote, but don't join a cult, Snowden said. They are not our tribe. They are not your personality. They have their own interests, their own values, their own things they're chasing. Try to get what you need from them, but don't give yourself to them, even if you have to vote for them. So just, think about that. When someone promises something, yes, it's great to hear, but until it's in place, it's just blah, 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 blah. If you are not aware, and if you are a X user, formerly Twitter, they are going to be, well, I'll just start with this. Here's how to disable X from using your data to train its Gork AI. So Gork or Grok AI is X's, artificial intelligence, and they are going to harvest your information and train Gork on that. X, formerly known as Twitter, has automatically activated a setting that allows a company to train its Gork AI on users' posts. X enabled the new setting by default. The good news is that you can switch it off and also delete your conversations history with the AI. The setting is turned on, can utilize your X posts as well as user interactions, input, and results with Grok training and fine-tuning process, according to the platform settings page. X goes on to note, this also means that your interactions, inputs, and results may also be shared with our service provider XAI for these purposes. Although it's not possible to disable the settings via X's mobile app, you can do this on the desktop version of the social network. One more thing to bring to everybody's attention, there are so many people that think that anything that's on a desktop application or sometimes even a browser, you can do on a mobile device, and that's not true. So if you have issues doing some function on your cell phone, try it on a desktop, because you actually may be able to do it on a desktop because they're not giving you the ability to do it on a mobile device. So just something to think about. WhatsApp for Windows lets Python PHP scripts execute with no warning. That's scary. A security issue in the latest version of WhatsApp for Windows allows sending Python and PHP attachments that are executed without any warning when the recipient opens them. That means you just touch something and it runs in the background, and it doesn't say, do you wish to have this work on your phone? For the attack to be successful, Python needs to be installed, a prerequisite that may limit the target to software developers, researchers, and power users. And those are the people that, if you get into the back door, can lead to other bigger issues, kind of like, Ledger and, or sorry, not like, well, it could lead to Ledger, but other companies, software developers, getting in the back door that could lead into other software issues. But the problem is similar to the one affecting Telegram for Windows in April, which was initially rejected but fixed later, where attackers could bypass security warnings and perform remote code execution when sending Python files through the messaging client. So be careful what you're downloading and opening and what people are sending to you. So Bumble and Hinge allow stalkers to pinpoint users' locations down to 2 meters, researchers say. So if you're using a dating app or some social apps out there, this is for you. A group of researchers said they found that vulnerabilities in the design of some dating apps, including the popular Bumble and Hinge, allowed malicious users or stalkers to pinpoint the location of their victims down to 2 meters. In an academic paper, researchers from the Belgian University KU detailed their findings when they analyzed 15 popular dating apps. Of those, Bandu, Bumble, Grindr, Happen, Hinge, and Hinley, all the same vulnerability that could have helped a malicious user identify the next near location of another user, according to researchers. It's basically triangulation. Take 3 points. If someone is standing still, then you'll be able to see where they are. And I guess it's up to 2 meters away. And here is something that is really good to hear, because I've talked about this before, but a court closes the loophole letting the feds search your phone at the border, phone and computer. The Fourth Amendment still applies at the border, despite the feds' insistence that it doesn't. For years, the courts have ruled that the government has the right to conduct routine, warrantless searches for contraband at the border. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, has taken advantage of this loophole in the Fourth Amendment's protection against unreasonable searches and seizures to force travelers to hand over data from their phones and laptops. But on Wednesday, Judge Nina Morris in the Eastern District of New York ruled that cell phone searches are non-routine searches, more akin to strip searches than scanning suitcases or passing a traveler through a metal detector. Although the interests of stopping contraband are undoubtedly served when the government searches the luggage or pockets of a person crossing the border, carrying objects that can only be introduced to the country by being physically moved across its border, the extent to which those interests are served when a government searches data stored on a person's cell phone is far less clear, the judge declared. So if they say, please open your phone, and we want to take a look, well, keep this handy and let them know that they can no longer do that, because Judge Nina Morrison has declared that. And here we go. Open to opt out of facial recognition at airports if you're an American. U.S. airports are rolling out facial recognition technology to scan the faces of travelers before they board their flight. Americans at least get to opt out. More than 230 U.S. airports have already rolled out facial recognition technology, according to the website of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Service, the federal agency tasked with border security. On one hand, the government claims that facial recognition reduces paper tickets and that it can be more efficient for travelers, but facial recognition remains imperfect and controversial. Delta began scanning faces of departing passengers beginning in 2018. JetBlue and other users followed suit. While airlines collect face scans to verify travelers as they board their flights, the face scans are passed to the government to check passengers against watch lists, such as those to overstay their visas. The government can hold onto these photos from anywhere between a few hours to several decades, depending on whether you're a citizen. The data is also stored in several government databases, which border agents can pull up while you're arriving or leaving the United States. Now, you see this big notification, this billboard. You do have the right to opt out. You may not see this at an airline, or it's kind of hidden, or someone removed it, but your rights are still there, even if you don't see this this bulletin. You may see a sign around the airport that says you can opt out of facial recognition, but note there may be no sign at all, or the signs are hidden from view. Regardless, the website makes it clear U.S. citizens can opt out of these face scan checks. U.S. citizens who do not wish to submit a facial recognition photo capture pursuant to these process may request alternative processing, which typically involves a manual review of their travel documents by border agents. So just know that. I know when I travel, I have never gone through the full body scan. I always opt in for the metal detector. At times, it's taken more time, and I don't care, but I refuse to go through the full body scan. And finally, and I thought this was kind of disturbing, but it is what it is. And so this is all about Find My by Apple. And Apple has said, well, I'll read you what it says. The community note is inaccurate. The claim Find My is end-to-end encrypted generally is misleading. Online devices report their location to Apple without end-to-end encryption, even with advanced data protection on. So it's not end-to-end encrypted. This makes it possible to look up a device's location through Find My by logging into iCloud.com. We intercepted the HTTPS traffic to Find My on iCloud, and it clearly shows that Apple can see the locations of every online device. The device has to be online. The only time that Apple can't see it is when an end-to-end encryption only applies when offline devices report their location through the Find My network, which relies on other nearby devices reporting their own location. So if you've lost a device, it's your car keys in the middle of the road or whatever, and as Apple devices go by and report that particular Find My that you might have reported as lost, Apple can't see that location. But when you're online, when you're carrying your phone, when you're carrying whatever, and you have Find My turned on, Apple can see its location, even though they claim that it's end-to-end encrypted. So that's all I have for today. Jay, back to you.